Hello everyone, welcome to my online classroom. Now we are going to continue the same chapter of class 10 geography. Here till page number 5 we had already done. Now we have to start from page number 6. So let's see on the page number 6 what are the important topics we are going to be discussed. So here first of all this page is going to be start with one figure. Figure 1.4 here in a simple way just we can say land utilization is be given that on which ratio of the land we have the forest, we have the barren and wasteland. The land which is going to be covered with the forest, the barren and wasteland. Then the area which is going to be covered under the area under non-agricultural use, permanent pastures and grazing land, area under miscellaneous like tree crops and groups. So here this data is given according to the 1960 to 61, and here the data is given from the year 2002 to 2003. So here like cultivable wasteland is be mentioned here, fallows other than current fallow land, current fallow, and last is the meson area. So it is just for to take a look of this diagram, the pie chart. After that we are going to continue the main headings or the main lines of this chapter, which is the land under permanent pasture. The land under permanent pasture has also decreased. If we are going to see the land which is coming under the permanent pasture where the grasses are going to be grow, so day by day that this land is also be going to decrease. And now with the decreasing of this land, what the next problem we are going to face? So the problem is this, that how are we able to feed our huge cattle population on this pasture land, and what are the consequences of it? So if we don't have this permanent pasture land, so how we are going to feed our huge cattle population, and because of that what results we are going to face in our future? Most of the other than the current fallow lands are either of poor quality or the cost of cultivation of such land is very high. Now if you are going to see the current fallow land, so that current fallow land is also in some areas this current fallow land has very poor quality, or the cost of cultivation on that land is very high. So it is very difficult for us to do farming there or to do cultivation. Next we have, hence these lands are cultivated once or twice in about 2 to 3 years, and if these are included in the net zone area, then the percentage of NSA, net zone area, in India comes to about 50% of the total reporting area. Next we have the pattern of net zone area varies greatly from one state to another. So of course the pattern in which we use the net zone area, so where we grow the crop once in a year, during the once in a year. So here also it is also depend, or it means it is different to one state to another. In some states the pattern of net zone area is be different, in other states we have the different net zone area pattern. It is just like it is over 80% of the total area in Punjab and Haryana, and less than 10% in Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Manipur and Andaman Nicobar Islands. So according to this net zone area, just like we can see here the states like Punjab and Haryana, because here fertility of soil is be available, irrigation sources are be available, and modern technologies are also be available here. That's why 80% of the total area we do net zone area, which is coming under the net zone area here, and less than, if you are going to see the Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram and Manipur, Andaman Nicobar Island, like this kind of places, so there we have less than 10% of net zone area. Next is here, actually, next we have forest area in the country is far lower than the desired 33% of geographical area. So that forest area also we have less, as it was outlined in the National Forest Policy. So according to that we have the forest area that this is 33%. Less than 33% of the geographical area. It was considered essential for maintenance of the ecological balance. Of course, forest and all kind of land or whatever resources we have, ecological balance is very important, because all these natural resources maintains the ecology or the environment balance. So the livelihood of millions of people who live on the fringes, meaning of fringes is on the border area of this forest. So this forest depend upon it. A part of the land is termed as wasteland. So the people, especially here we talk about the tribal community, those people who live on the borders of this forest area or the places, So these people, they, for all their livelihood, for all their needs, they totally depend on the resources of this forest. A part of the land is termed as wasteland and land put to other non-agricultural uses. Even some part of the land which is not going, which is be a wasteland, which is not, we can't do cultivation on that land. So we are going to use that land in other activities like it is mentioned, like suppose we have the wasteland includes rocky, arid and desert area. So in this kind of land where the land is rocky, arid, it means dry, and the desert areas there cultivation is not be possible. So we are going to do other things. Like what kind of things we are going to do here? Just like the construction of roads, railways and building the any kind of industry which becomes a kind of source for us. Continuous use of land over a long period of time without taking appropriate measures to conserve and manage it has resulted in land degradation. So when we are using our land like continuous in a way for a long period of time, so of course without giving care and without conserving them, of course day by day our land is going to be degraded. Day by day is going to be degraded, which is also very harmful for all of us. So that's why it is very important to give attention there. Like it is to save our natural resources, because we very well know land is a very important natural resource, and for production of anything, land is the first requirement of everyone. Here next line we have, this in turn has serious repercussions on the society and the environment. Repercussions means an unintended consequence of an event or action, especially an unwelcome one. So of course it is harmful. Day by day the land is going to be degraded. The quality of the soil, the quality of land is going to be degraded. Next we have land degradation and conservation measures. So regarding the land, how the land is degrading and how we are going to conserve it, that's what kind of measures we are going to use, that we are going to read in under this chapter or under this main heading. So these all headings are very important and we have to remember each and every line, because from the line the questions are going to be come. We have shared our land with the past generations and will have to do so with the future generations too. 95% of our basic needs for food, shelter and clothing are obtained from land. So here as we can see that we have shared our land with the past generations and will have to do so with the future generations also. We have the same piece of land. We shared this land with our past generations also, and even we are going to share this land with our future generations too. For this way, of course, just like the past generation they save for us, we are also going to conserve these natural resources for our future generations. Now, as we can see that 95% of our basic needs are just like food, shelter and clothing are obtained from land. So by this also we can understand what is the importance of land in our life. Now let's see, due to its importance, of course there is a lot of importance of land, so of course we have to conserve our land. So human activities have not only brought about degradation of land but have also aggravated the pace of natural forces to cause damage to land. So here aggravated means to make something worse or more serious. So day by day when the soil, the land is going to be degrading. By this, the conditions become worse, and because of that, the natural forces also cause damage to land. At present, there are about 130 million hectares of degraded land in India. So, right now, 130 million hectares of degraded land we have in India, which is not of any use. Approximately, and like this, in this way, in the continued use of this land, and we are going to degrade our land. So in future, think about of that, how we are going to cultivate, what kind of activities we will do. By that we are able to earn money. So it is, of course, it is a time to think about all this kind of things, to conserve them, to conserve or to save our natural resources. Next we have approximately 28% of it belongs to the category of forest degraded area, 56% of it water eroded area, and the rest is affected by saline saline and alkaline deposits. So how the land is going to be degraded? So here, just like the 28% of it belongs to the category of forest degraded area. 20% forest area is going to be degraded. Next, we have 56% area due to what it is due to water activity. It is going to be eroded, and next we have the area which is also going to be degraded. The land is going to be degraded, and that is not of any use day by day because of what? Because it is saline in nature and alkaline deposits are there. So what is saline? Saline is a term when any water contains salt, any land contains salt. Because of that, it is not possible to use that thing for any use. Same for the alkaline also. Something just like soil which containing the properties of an alkali or alkali some metal, basic especially, of a solution having a pH of more than 7. So some plants will not grow in very alkaline soil. So of course the land where that land have alkaline properties, so we are not able to do farming or cultivation on those piece of land. So that land is also going to become a wasteland for us. It is going to be degraded. So that's why it is very important to save, to conserve our land resources. Some human activities also, like such as deforestation, without any thinking we are cutting the trees to fulfill our greed. So that is also going to be harm our land resources. Overgrazing, mining and quarrying too have contributed significantly in land degradation. So what do you mean by quarrying here? To dig stone, sand, etc. out of the ground, just like for example to quarry for marbles. So it is also day by day it's going to be degrade our land. Next we have the para. Here the one pie chart is given that in India in 2000 year how much wasteland we have and what is the proportion of this. So it is mentioned here. Mining sites. Now next we have mining sites are abandoned after excavation. Work is complete, leaving deep scars and traces. So traces are kind of mark which is believed when mining is be over. Of overburdening, day by day it's going to be increased. It states and those places where these deep scars and traces is be left after when mining was be over. So in those places also that land is not of any use. So that land is also going to be become a waste land. In states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Odisha, which today we pronounce it Odisha, deforestation due to mining have caused several land degradation. So these places, because these places contains a lot of mineral resources, so that's why due to mining this becomes a great mining sites, and after mining, of course here due to deforestation and due to mining, the land of these places is also going to be degraded. It's going to be waste day by day. The quality of the land is going to be degraded. In states like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, overgrazing is one of the main reasons for land degradation. So what do you mean by overgrazing? Animals, they graze when they eat the grass of the ground, of the field, of the land. So sometimes they eat the top layer of the soil also. So that's why the fertility of the soil is being reduced. So it is this problem we face in the Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra places. Because of that, land is also going to be degraded. In the states of Punjab, Haryana, Western, Uttar Pradesh, over irrigation is responsible for land degradation due to water logging, leading to increase in salinity and alkalinity in the soil. So here what is the reason in the Punjab and Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh? As we know, if you remember in the village Palampur Eco chapter of class 9 there, due to when green revolution was introduced, so after that the farmers of these places, Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh, they started to use the modern methods of farming. Under that, irrigation was also there. But the farmers, they don't know how much they have to irrigate their field. So sometimes they over irrigation they are providing to their land. So due to over irrigation, what is going to be happen? The top layer of the soil is going to be eroded. With the water, with the running water on the field, so that's why or suppose the water is going to be logged. Logging means when water is going to be collected on a same place for a long time. So that time what is going to be happen? The water, as we very well know, water contains salt. So that area, that land is also becomes saline. it's going to contain the salt and alkaline also. That's why in that soil we cannot grow crops. So that is also become a big problem, and day by day that land is also become a waste land. Next we have the mineral processing like grinding of limestone or cement industry and calcite and soapstone for ceramic industry generate huge quantity of dust in the atmosphere. So how by this all these activities by all the industries, maybe we are getting some manufacturing new kind of products, but of course it harm our environment also. Like calcite, what is calcite here? Calcite actually is a common mineral consisting of crystallized calcium carbonate, a major constituent of limestone. As we know, the social science subject contains other subject topics also. So here, like this ceramic industry also, uh, of course, so this industry, when we are going to use these products in the grinding of limestone and these products we use for ceramic industry, so of course it releases a huge dust in the atmosphere, which is also very harmful for all of us. It retards the process of infiltration and infiltration of water into the soil after it settles down on the land. In recent years, industrial effluents as waste have become a major source of land and water pollution in many parts of the country. So, of course, in the country, industry influence from the industry, whatever waste they are going to be released, that is also become a headache for all of us. Because of that, day by day, the land is going to be degraded and water pollution also increase in our country. There are many ways to solve the problem for land degradation, to save our land, to conserve our land. We have some solutions also, just like the solution have been given here. Like afforestation, that's like deforestation. Deforestation is cutting of trees. So afforestation is to plant more trees, and proper management of grazing can help to some extent. And even proper management we have to do, how to manage the process of grazing so that the top layer of soil is going to be conserved. Planting of shelter belts of plants, that we will read in the last para of this book. This line is also mentioned here. Control on overgrazing, stabilization of sand dunes by growing thorny bushes are some of the methods to check land degradation. So these are the measures by which we can conserve our land and to save it for degrading. Proper management of wastelands, control of mining activities, proper discharge and disposal of industrial effluents and wastes after treatment can reduce land and water degradation in industrial and suburban areas. So one method also we have to protect our land, just like to control mining activities, even proper discharge of and disposal of industrial effluents before, suppose like the companies or the factories, before of releasing their chemicals in the river or in the land. First of all, they have to they have to do there, they have to give a proper treatment to all these things so that they will not this waste will not harm to our land. So it is the main topic here. After that, we have the next, soil as a resource. As we very well know that soil is the important resource for us. If soil is not there, so most of the activities are not be possible. So let's start this. Soil as a resource. Soil is the most important renewable natural resource. It is the medium of plant growth and supports different types of living organisms on the earth. So as we can see, if you want to plant growth, if you want to grow plants, of course soil is required. So here one picture is given like soil profile. In earlier classes you had already read about of this. So let's see, take a look of this picture also. Here it is given the soil profile, the top soil, the upper soil layer. After that we have subsoil, weathered rock, sand and silt clay. Then we have substratum, weathered parent rock material, and the next one we have unweathered parent bedrock. So it is the layers of the soil. After that, let's see. The soil is a living system. It takes millions of years to form soil up to a few centimeters in depth. So of course the soil is also made by completing whole process, and it is also a living system which took a million of years to form soil up to a few centimeters in depth. Relief, parent rock or bedrock, climate, vegetation and other forms of life and time are important factors in the formation of soil. Various forces of nature such as change in temperature, actions of running water, wind and glaciers, activities of decomposers, etc. contribute to the formation of soil. So by all these activities, the soil is going to be formed. Chemical and organic changes which take place in the soil are equally important, and whatever changes occurred, like the chemical and the organic changes, that is equally important. Soil also consists of organic, humus and inorganic material. So soil, underline this line, soil also consists two things which is very important, that is organic. In other words, we can say humus, which is the fertility top layer of the soil, which contains humus. Because of that, the soil is the fertile and it is suitable for growing all kind of crops. And second, we have it, soil also contains inorganic materials. So let's see, on the basis of the factors responsible for soil formation: color, thickness, texture, age, chemical and physical properties, the soils of India can be classified in different types. So on the basis of various factors like the things responsible for soil formation, color, thickness, texture, soil texture, age, chemical and physical properties, we have different kind of soils in India. So let's see the classification of soils. We have total 6 types of soils. Here this soils, related to soils, in this chapter we have one map which is we are going to do in the political map of India. Now let's see what is the important various types of soil we have. So here India has very really features: landforms, climatic rains, rains means regions, and vegetation types. So of course India has a lot of variety of really features. Landforms we have, climatic regions we have, areas, and vegetation types also we have. But with this also we have different types of soils. So let's see what kind of soils we are going to discuss here. First we have the alluvial soils. It is the most important soil of the India, and it is a very fertile soil of India, and which is used to grow different kind of crops. A lot of various kind of crops we can grow in the alluvial soil. So here this is the most widely spread and important soil. In fact, the entire northern plains are made of alluvial soil. So see, by this we can understand, first of all, this soil is spread on a large part of the India, as well as if you are going to say which part, so it is northern plains. Northern plains are made of alluvial soil, and these have been deposited by 3 important Himalayan river systems. So how this soil forms, from where this soil is coming? So this soil deposits are coming by the 3 important Himalayan river systems like Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra. These soils also extend in Rajasthan and Gujarat through a narrow corridor. So in a narrow corridor we found this soil in the Rajasthan and Gujarat area also. Alluvial soil is also found in the eastern coastal plains, particularly in the deltas of the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna and the Kaveri rivers. So here the description is given about the alluvial soil where we found these soils. After that, let's see the characteristics of the soil. The alluvial soil consists of various proportions of sand, silt and clay. Silt means like sand, soil or mud that collects at the sides or on the bottom of a river. As we move inland towards the river valleys, soil particles appear somewhat bigger in size. In the upper reaches of the river valley, that is near the place of the break of slope, the soils are coarse. So here I am going to explain the meaning of slope also. A surface or piece of land that goes up or down. And next word we have the coarse. Coarse means rough or harsh in texture. Such soils are more common in Piedmont plains. Piedmont means a gentle slope leading from the foot of mountains to a region of flat land. After that we have that this is categorized into 3 parts like dores, then we have chores and the terrain. So what it means, what is the meaning of these words? So dores means those are the floodplains and foothills of the eastern Himalayas in northeast India around Bhutan. So in the northeast India around the Bhutan side, these are the areas which is the floodplains and foothills of the eastern Himalayas. Second, we have the chores. So of course chores means when heavy load of coarse like sand and silt rushing to the plains. They are called chores. In the plain areas, when this coarse sand and silt coming to the plain area, so that time in the plain area they use this word chores for this kind of sand and silt, where their beds are broad, shallow and sandy. They are quite numerous, and in some places every kilometer has a chores. Next thought, what we have Tarai. Tarai are belts of marshy land at foot of mountains at the foot of the Himalayas in North India. Let's see about the alluvial soil and its types. It is also very important. It's coming for 1 mark question, and this also is coming for the 1 mark question. Apart from the size of their grains or components, soils are also described on the basis of their age. So of course the soil, the texture, according to the texture of the soil, we are going to, and about the age, we are going to describe the soil here. There are types. Let's see, according to their age, alluvial. If we are going to, on the basis of the age, if we are going to define the alluvial soil, we are going to classify it into 2 parts. That is old alluvial soil and new alluvial soil. Old alluvial means Bangar and new alluvial soil means Khadar. So it means the old alluvial soil is known by the name of Bangar and the old alluvial soil is known by the name of Khadar. Let's see what is the difference between of these 2 words or these 2 types of alluvial soils. The Bangar soil has higher concentration of concord. It is a Hindi word. In English, we can use for this word nodules than Khadar. It has more fine particles and is more fertile than the Bangar. So here, the thing is that old alluvial soil, the Bangar, is less fertile in comparison of the Khadar because it contains nodules, it contains concord. Of course, in any soil, if it is not having fine particles, so that soil is not suitable for growing crop. So here, old alluvial soil, the Bangar, is less fertile because why? What is the reason? Because it contains concord. And let's see, the Khadar. Khadar is a new alluvial soil and it is more fertile in comparison of the Bangar because why? What is the reason? Because it contains fine particles of soil. So it is the difference and it is very important. It is maybe it is coming for 2 or 3 or 1 mark questions. Now come to the next para. Alluvial soils as a whole are very fertile. If you are going to see about the alluvial soil, so because of course it is written that Bangar, it is less fertile. It's not like that it is not be fertile, it is a wasteland, it is a barren land or barren soil. No, it is fertile, but it is in comparison of the Khadar, it is less fertile. Alluvial soils as a whole are very fertile. As a whole, we are going to see like the Khadar and the Bangar, so of course it is fertile. Mostly these soils contain adequate proportion of potash, phosphoric acid. Now see the chemical properties, what it contains, what kind of things are we here, what are, like potash we have in the alluvial soil, phosphoric acid and lime, which are ideal for growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat and other cereal and pulse crops. So in this kind of soil, we are able to grow sugarcane, paddy, wheat and other cereal and pulse crops. Next, due to its high fertility, of course, alluvial soil is the very fertile soil. So due to its high fertility, regions of alluvial soils are intensively cultivated and densely populated. So that's why the places where we found alluvial soil, those places cultivated at a high rate, as well as their population, those live where that is also being high. Soils in the drier areas are more alkaline and can be productive after proper treatment and irrigation. But the soil which we found in the drier areas like some places of Rajasthan and Gujarat, there the soil contains the soil is alkaline in nature. That's why due to alkaline in nature, it is not be suitable for growing crop. But it's not like that we are going to leave this land like that, because land is also a natural resource. So we have to try it to use it, and we are the human beings, we are the laborers who is going to be, by use of our skill, by use of our hard work, of course we are going to use that resource. So here, after in that places also, the places where we have dry areas, so there also the soil which is alkaline nature, we can make it fertile with the proper treatment and irrigation. Next, so alluvial soil is the over and it is very important. Next we have the black soil. Just name is telling to us, of course, first point, if in paper it will become to write this answers. Of course, you are going to write this answer in points. So first point which we are going to understand by this, that these soils are black in nature. The color of this soil is black and are also known as regal soil. Sometimes it is asked or we can ask that write down the quality or the characteristics of the regal soils, or this soil is useful for growing cotton. So all these answers you are going to get here. So black soil, first of all, it is black in color. Second point, it is also known as regal soil. And third, black soil is ideal for growing cotton, and that's why it is also known as black cotton soil. Underline all these lines. It is believed that climatic conditions along with the parent rock material are the important factors for the formation of black soil. This type of soil is typical of the Deccan Trap basalt region spread over northwest Deccan Plateau and is made up of lava flows. So let's see the areas, the region where we found this black soil. It is the Deccan Trap or the northwest Deccan Plateau. We found this kind of soil, black soil, and it is how it is being made. This just like the elevation made with the help of the rivers, here this soil is made up with the lava flows. So sometimes question is coming with the volcanic eruption or the lava, by the help of the lava, which kind of soil form. So it is black soil. So now let's see the areas where it is be found. It is the plateaus of Maharashtra, Saurashtra. Again I repeat, Maharashtra, Saurashtra, and next we have Malwa, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh, and extend in the southeast direction along the Godavari and the Krishna valleys. So before I'm going to read this page number 10 about the other various types of soil, we have on the page number 9, we have one political map is be given. Okay, actually physical map is be given, but remember in exam when it will going to become, so of course they are going to provide you political map of India. So this map you can, if it is better, you will do this map in your notebook or somewhere else. On a political map of India, by that you can easily understand in which states we found what kind of soil. So here different symbols have been given, how we are going to represent this map with the other like, so this map is going to tell us about the major soil types of India. So next we are going to continue this in our next video. So wait for that and revise each and every type of soil and read the chapter. So revise the alluvial soils and the black soil. So now thank you everyone. Please like, share and subscribe my online classroom channel. Thank you everyone.